Hello, my name is Manny Kagan. I am founder of Money Solutions Academy. In 1985, together with my wife, we started Pacific Bay Financial Corporation, which is today the leading mortgage brokerage in the Bay Area. And I have a special guest, James Callejas. I know him for many years. Uh, I don't even remember how we first came across each other, but who cares now? James is working for a company called IPX 1031, and subject of our conversation is 1031 exchanges, which is very interesting subject, and I'll tell you in a second why. I received two calls last week and even yesterday. First call came from a real estate agent. She tells me that her client is she has a listing. He wants to sell a property. It's investment property, and he wants to buy another one. And we're going to do 1031 exchange. And of course, there were questions about this, and I knew immediately what to do. I'll call James, and I asked her, "Do you have someone who will handle 1031 exchange?" Says yes, but I will accept a recommendation without mentioning your name. Okay, this was the first conversation. And then I receive another call from another client who wants to buy property in not far from Carson City in Nevada, and she owns property here in California, and she's considering selling it and buying it as 1031 exchange. Now, first one was clear. Second one, I told her, before you do anything, you have to consult with your tax preparer, preferably with CPA, to explain you the benefits of 1031 exchange. Because my personal experience was I had property which we did 1031 exchange, and another one, my CPA said, don't do it, you have enough losses, you don't need it. So now it's a very, I know that the subject is huge. It might take a few hours to discuss it, but I'm limiting you to 10 minutes and I'm going to interrupt you while he's speaking. Go ahead.
So really quickly, so everybody truly understands, the 1031 exchange, like Manny mentioned, is only for investment property, but that includes all commercial property. And when we're talking about the Bay Area, over 35% of the residential property qualifies for the 1031 exchange. Now, this code is very unique because it is the only thing out there that allows you to build wealth within your real estate portfolio without having to pay the piper when it comes to capital gains tax. If you follow certain guidelines, and that's our job to explain, to go A to Z in a 1031 exchange without making any mistakes. If you do that, you'll be in a position to not only unload an asset that probably no longer makes sense, but to reinvest into a superior piece of investment property, not paying state tax, federal tax, depreciation, recapture, not paying anything to Obamacare. The power of the 1031 exchange is really huge. Most people don't understand why you do a 1031 exchange. They know it's investment to investment, but they think the 1031 exchange is not about paying taxes. But the reality is, this property no longer makes sense. Maybe I want to go to Nevada. Maybe I want a different property somewhere else. Maybe I want to change product type from residential to commercial or get multiple properties because I can do that in a 1031 exchange. The 1031 exchange allows me to sell a property that no longer makes sense to get into a better piece of investment property. And there's a lot of different opportunities that exist.
You said that makes sense. And this is exactly the point. Like this friend of mine, she's my client friend, and who wants to buy another property. And her relative gave her advice not to sell this whatever existing property. And I asked her, how long you had it? 25 years. It means that she runs out of depreciation. She doesn't understand this. This relative smart guy doesn't know this either. So the only way to know those things, you have to talk to professionals. And hearing just a little bit of what you said, it immediately triggers in my mind maybe to make an hour-long seminar specifically to cover the, well, it's not everything, but at least more of it. But let's talk about, explain to us what this means, 1031 exchange. How does it work?
So 1031 is just the Internal Revenue Code. But this is how it works. Like Manny said, for whatever reason, the property doesn't make sense. And maybe it's fully depreciated. and you can't take that write off. Maybe it's an older property and it's always got problems. Maybe you're in a rent control area and you don't get the cash flow that you deserve. Or maybe you bought it a long time ago and you have so much appreciation that the return on the investment no longer makes sense. Whatever the reason is, the way it would work is you determine, okay, I don't want this property any longer. I'm going to sell it. Before I put it on the market, I don't want to pay the capital gains tax. I'm going to do a 1031 exchange. I have to understand in a short time frame, I need to buy a replacement property. So before putting the property on the market, you kind of determine, where do I want to put the money? Like, for example, we had one looking to go into Nevada. It could be a different state. It could be a different property type. You look for, okay, how much inventory is available for what I'm looking to buy? I'm going to have a plan A, plan B, plan C, because I know that I need to complete the 1031 exchange very quickly. And here's
Okay,
how it
very
works.
quickly here, exactly. It's not very quickly. You have to identify property in 45 days.
So here's how it would work. We determine we're selling the property. We know what we want to buy. We will look for it. We put the property on the market for sale. Eventually, we'll accept an offer, and then we'll open up escrow, just like any other transaction. But in the 1031 exchange, right after escrow is opened, you need to open up a 1031 exchange account. That's what we do. We are a qualified intermediary.
In other words, when escrow is open on a sale,
On the sale.
when it's opened.
Correct. That's when we will set up the 1031 exchange account, because we'll need two items in order to do so. Number one, a copy of the contract. So that's why you have to accept an offer, because we will assign into the rights of the contract and become the seller, because you can't touch money in a 1031 exchange. We'll set up the 1031 exchange account in the name of whoever is selling the property. That will be set up once you're in contract, because we will assign into the rights of the contract. Once escrow is open, we'll get a copy of the title report, because it'll show who the owner is on the vesting page. That all must be in place prior to the close of escrow. If you don't do this before the close of escrow and escrow closes, you're a taxpayer. If you do it before the close of escrow, then your 1031 exchange account is set up. So at the close, money goes into the 1031 exchange account. And like Manny said, the clock starts ticking. You will have 45 calendar days from the close of escrow to let us know in writing exactly what you're going to purchase. And then from day 45, you'll have an additional 135 days to close on it. So a short
total
time
180 days.
Total 180 days, but the first 45, that's critical.
Yeah. So during this 45 days, you have to identify property. It's tricky. Because, and I've seen it enough cases where, yes, property was identified, but it couldn't close in 180 days, new construction.
Yeah,
And
timing is critical in a 1031
here is everything
exchange.
counts. Therefore, sometimes buyers identify a number of properties. They don't know which ones they'll buy. But it's not so easy when market is crazy, like there's no properties now. How do you identify property?
You like I said, you do proper planning in advance. You have plan A, plan B, and plan C. And in my opinion, perhaps when the property being sold is in contract, you might start making contingent offers. If that will work, it doesn't always work. It might be new construction. So we strategically plan when we're going to close, so we know it will be completed within 180 days. Or you might be identifying multiple properties, and there's certain rules and guidelines that you have to follow. My job is to guide you through that process, but there is no guarantee that you're going to complete it. That's why you need the right team surrounding you to make sure that this happens. And I got to tell you, over 85%, probably as high as 90% of the 1031 exchange succeed when you plan in advance. This is not something where the property, oh, we're in contract, what are we going to do? I don't know, we'll figure it out. Can't do that. Proper planning gives you the opportunity to succeed in the 1031 exchange at a very high percentile.
And so people need to consult with you before they do it?
I would highly recommend that, just to make sure the property qualifies, just to make sure that the entity that is selling the property is the entity that is going to do the 1031 exchange. Sometimes people think they own it, but it's in a trust, it's in an LLC, it's in a corporation, multiple people own it. I need to have that conversation, and it doesn't take long, just to make sure it qualifies and to make sure everything is set up for success.
Okay, in a short time, but what's reverse 1031 exchange?
Like we mentioned earlier, it's very difficult to find replacement property when you're looking for specific property with limited inventory. Sometimes the way around that is to buy the property first and sell the property second. This is a great strategy when there's limited inventory, because we know we can sell our property. We just don't know if we can find it within the time frames. Now, when people hear that you could buy first and sell second, everyone gets excited. I want to do that. But here's the problem with the reverse exchange. Not really a problem, more of a hurdle. You have to be able to have the proceeds, or the money rather, to buy the property first. If you have the cash, very easy. If you have a down payment and financing, a little more challenging, but can still happen. But if you can't afford to buy first, the reverse exchange is not going to be an option.
Yes.
So consultation in advance to see whether or not this is feasible is very, very important.
I will finish here because I think that what you just said, consultation, there's three people have to be involved. It's your CPA, tax preparer, because
Always.
you start with this person, describe what you want to accomplish. Then you're talking to me, and I recommend you James. Of course, you can call him directly, but I think talking with me will help you understand how you can buy the property or how you can finance it.
I think those are great points. And a conference call, a Zoom, an in-person meeting in advance, proper preparation puts your chances for success on a 1031 exchange extremely high.
Thank you for watching. My name is Manny Kagan. I promise to help you.